Ladies and gentlemen, holla ballers, because today's not only Friday, it is not only the culmination of the week and the final week before that big Christmas lands upon us, it's also my birthday. It is also my birthday. I have turned the grand old age of 50 years old. And we stand here smiling. Not really. That's all I've been hearing all day is happy 50th. It's 38 years of age as of today. We are here in order to celebrate the weird and wonderful that occurs all over the internet every single time. Apparently my head's on a Christmas turkey. Jabasted. Oh, I'm okay. It's lovely. Lovely. Happy birthday. It's been a glorious day. So much has been done. I encourage anybody who's listening to this to go and check the VOD of today because it's been a ridiculously eventful day. Excuse me. We've had videos from some extremely surprised people coming in, as well as just all sorts of wackiness. Slice is Right champion. 2 on the bounce. Streaking our way through it on the way to that title. Free bus pass soon. Yes, yes, yes. Very funny, but a happy way before I head off to see the wonderful Spider-Man with my children and have fun with my family. How better to end the week than with some drama time? We're starting a little bit later because we were in the middle of the most depressing quest line in the history of Final Fantasy XIV. How could we finished? We finished on a downer. Let's put it that way. We finished on a downer, didn't we? We did. It was really miserable despite the fun we've been happening, but that is the nature of the beast sometimes. We end up in the middle of hell on earth, and that is more than fine, so just you wait. Just you wait. The off-tank... okay, the story I've got in front of me is the off-tank. We have that weird caps lock error again. Seems to happen if we've been streaming all day. The off-tank's IQ. This worries me. I mean, off-tanking ain't that hard. Just press taunt, lol. Just press taunt, lol. That's all you gotta do is just press taunt. It's as simple as that. Nothing more, nothing less than to just press taunt. And we have, from our wonderful website supporters, if you want your name in drama, it's our website supporters. And also send your drama time stories into drama@preachgaming.com. Doesn't matter what game it is. It's all good. We're looking for some more FF stories. Because it's deep and dark what lurks beneath the shroud of non-toxicity that is Final Fantasy. Please, it hurts. I fixed it. Oh, I didn't fix it. Fuck. It's hard for me to fix because backspace doesn't work. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it doesn't. And delete doesn't work either. Well, shit. What if... Nope, that doesn't work either. See, the only way to fix this is to restart the stream, and I'm not doing that. How's that? How's that? Are we happy? But it's nothing to do with the keyboard. Thanks for your 1 IQ. Are you my off-tank? Sound like my off-tank with your 1 IQ suggestions. You sound exactly like my off-tank with your 1 IQ suggestions. Yeah, just like it's the keyboard. Like it's the keyboard. No. Keep me in my happy place. Paku, thank you for your birthday message this morning. Okay. Dear Preacher, I have written in before about the crazy German raid leader from The Secret Admirer, and the story I have for you today isn't quite as fucked up, but it's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in an online game. Today's tale will be the tale of Guild's desperate search for an off-tank. Somebody's shouting at my door. Sorry guys, there's someone shouting at me through the window. I believe that is delivery number 4 of Emma's 1 or 2 deliveries today. That's delivery number 4 of Emma's promised 1 or 2 deliveries that she was having today. Today's story will be the tale of a guild's desperate search for an off-tank, and one of the many we recruited. This is the tale, the legacy of the gnome warrior called Nanalil. I need to take your minds back to vanilla World of Warcraft. Okay, we're in WoW today for this first one. I was a university student studying chemistry when my brother introduced me to WoW. First, fast forward then to today. I'm a university lecturer, and after a chat yesterday with a colleague about some of the oddest students we have, oh god, yeah, we've come across, I remembered, our boy Nanalil. You guys really do, like the stinky kid, the trashy kid, the poor kid, the rich kid, the posh kid, right? You have nicknames for all those kids in your classes, don't you? I know you do. But back in vanilla WoW, I played a dwarf hunter. And after leveling and moving between a few guilds, I finally settled down. For a while, at least. In a nice raiding guild called... What's the guild called? Give me a guild. Well, I'll go with the Birthday Boys for this one. Called the Birthday Boys. Where I would eventually become the Hunter Officer. The foundations of the Birthday Boys were a group of IRL Dutchy friends who all played WoW together. The GM was a lovely guy called Agagor, who was also the main tank of the guild. We had a couple of officers from the friend group, including a hunter who was permanently stoned, a healing paladin who was probably the only decent healer we had in the guild, and various others from their group of friends. Sound good so far? Well, it was. But one of the issues was that Agregor was a nice guy. A really, really nice guy. In fact, he was far too nice to be a guild master. Far, far too nice. We regularly raided Molten Core and Blackwing Lair, but at some point began to struggle in Blackwing Lair because the guild was beginning to, of course, bleed its members. Specifically, our better players. Why was it beginning to bleed members, you might ask? Well, basically, the off-tank at the time was a fucking dickhead. Now, Agagor, nice guy, was a good tank, as well as the raid leader of the guild, and the off-tank was okay. He was alright. He was by no means terrible, but not good. He regularly fucked up and got everybody killed. Would then yell that it was everyone else's fault and people talking were confusing him. Eventually he rage quit the guild after lots of people mocking him, and thus began our sacred journey to find a replacement. Someone who would be our official off-tank. So it was decided that instead of trying to do Blackwing Lair, it would be better if we all went back to Molten Core to start gearing up our new recruits. We would also use this time to recruit as many people as possible, because why not? Hell, we had our Molten Core gear, and at least we would get some good players out of it, right? And I would say trialing them in this era, but the reality is, Agagor was just too nice of a guy to kick anybody. We recruited some good players at the time. The creme de la creme, you might say. The best our server had available? Maybe. The problem with our server, though? Shit. In a word. Dog shit. Everybody who wasn't already in a guild was clearly fucking bad, and our server had no lurking gems, no diamonds in the rough for us to pick up. Most of the people who we were recruiting at the time I have mostly forgotten about, but two of them stuck with me throughout the years. The first, of course, being Nanalil, our new off-tank, and the second being a rogue, who went by the name of Bugsy Jiggles. Bugsy Jiggles was the single worst fucking video games player I have ever come across in my entire fucking life. I'm still in contact with some of the Dutch guys from Vanilla, and we still remember how bad Bugsy Jiggles was. We even had an award that we named after him in the guild when someone did something really fucking stupid. Why did this award exist? How bad could Bugsy Jiggles even be? Well, let me tell you. On his trial for Molten Core, Bugsy Jiggles showed up to the raid, his first raid with us, wearing a full set of Defias armor. Now, for those of you who don't know, that is level 13 to 19. Now, you might think maybe our boy's a role player. Maybe he's doing it just because transmog doesn't exist yet and he just loves how it looks. But no, he was wearing it for the stats. I still remember his quote from today. This armor has plus dagger damage. Now, showing up to a level 60 raid in level 13 to 19 gear is bad enough. But the crowning glory of this stupidity, the pinnacle of this idiocy, he didn't have any daggers. He had swords. When we pointed this out to him, he said the Defias matching daggers hadn't dropped for him yet. But he's working on it. And you got to admire the commitment, though, right? I mean, you can laugh all you want, but you've got to admire that commitment. He's working on it. He's grinding it. He's got his pedal to the metal. He's doing what he's doing. So, after trying to find a new off-tank for some time, one of the officers in the guild, who was also at university somewhere studying physics, told us that he had found the perfect player. He'd stumbled across that diamond in the rough that we were looking for. One of the guys from his university class played WoW. And was on our server. This guy was a physics genius. A true Sheldon Cooper. With a genius level IQ. And obviously someone with an IQ that high can't be bad at the game. He's going to solve all our problems. There was something that the officer initially forgot to mention about our boy Nanalil. And what was this, you might ask? Well, he wasn't lying. Nanalil was a genius. He was. A child genius. Nanalil is 14 years old. Now, having someone that young at university isn't unheard of. I had myself a guy in my first year class who was 15, and I was 17 when I started university. As a side note, that 15-year-old guy from my first year's class turned 18 his final year. Discovered student nightlife, basically did what you do in first year in his final year, and failed his degree. Oh no. Classic. So, boy genius Nanalil joins our guild on his plucky gnome warrior and began to off-tank in Molten Core. Now, he died a lot. The problem, of course, was Nanalil's gear was truly fucking terrible. He died a lot. He also couldn't hold threat for shit. And this was at the time put down to lack of items. He just simply does not do enough threats. He doesn't have enough armor. He doesn't have enough health. All the usual reasons. We'll get it fixed. Not a problem. So we began to gear him up. We would clear Molten Core in spite of his many depths and would dip our toe back into Blackwing Lair and cleared a reasonable amount of it again. Now, this guild ran everyone's favourite loot system, DKP. Yes, fuck me. I absolutely hate DKP. But because Nanalil was a tank, the normal DKP rules did not apply to him. And he was relatively quickly geared up. Now, did this solve the problems of him dying all the time? No, it didn't. Was he able to hold any kind of threat? Absolutely fucking not. What do we do with Nanalil? Well, it came to a head. In order to keep helping him with gear, he was given the Wrath Helmet after an Onyxia kill. By this point, he had some pretty good gear. And if you can remember the Wrath Helmet, it's pretty obvious when you see it. Now, outside of raids, I didn't interact with Nanalil too much in the game. I flat out avoided going on dungeon runs with him because of how bad a tank he was. And in guild chat and TeamSpeak, he was what can only be described as irritating beyond belief. His entire life was about academics. He would go on and on about complex physics shit that none of us knew what he was talking about and didn't fucking care. At all. So after killing Onyxia, a few of us decided to do some Alterac Valley, and Nanalil was invited along. As we all joined into the AV, the first thing I noticed was that Nanalil was wearing some random shitty helmet. Oh no. Instead of the brand new Wrath helmet we had just given him. In fact, all of the items Nanalil was wearing can only be described as piecemeal bits of shit that he'd picked up. He was also wielding a two-handed weapon and would charge in, apply Mortal Strike, and then die. So when we saw this in AV, we obviously asked him, where's your tier 2 helmet? Where's the rest of your gear? He replied, this gear is better for PvP. So we gave him an inspect. His better for PvP gear was a collection of greens and blues, half of which weren't even plate, and half of which didn't even have strength on them. Now, Nanalil wasn't in TeamSpeak, so he couldn't hear us all trying to figure this out. We were generally confused. But we started to get some follow-up questions for our boy. The next question was about the fact he was using Mortal Strike and a two-hander. And for those of you who can't remember, Mortal Strike was an end talent for an arms warrior. Did you respec after we did Onyxia from tank to DPS? No. I haven't changed my talents. It turned out that Nanalil had never changed his talents. Nanalil had just leveled his arms and then been arms forever. Through every fucking raid. He had 0 tank talents. But that's not where it ended. It transpired after a brief conversation that our boy Nanalil only had rank 1 for most of his abilities. He said buying the higher abilities was a waste of money. They still functionally did the same thing. I shudder to think how many times this guy died during leveling, and suddenly the fact he couldn't hold aggro for shit started to make some sense. Now, for a couple of us, this is all coming at us thick and fast, as I'm sure it is for your chat. What do we do? How do we deal with this situation? What the fuck is wrong with this guy? So a couple of us, after realizing this, went straight to the GM. Let's just go to the guild master, tell him what we discovered, and we went to Agagor. It explained... We found out what is wrong with our boy Nanalil. We figured it out, and it's nothing to do with gear. Agagor says, I'll sort it out, right? And he's going to sort it out. It's no problem. So after that, Agagor tried to take him under his wing a bit. Teach him about tanking, what it's all about, what he needs to do. The problem was Nanalil didn't want to hear it. And the reason he didn't want to hear it is because he had worked it out. Worked out what? Agagor asked him. The perfect build. And as Agagor is such a nice guy, he wouldn't kick him or remove him from his role, because that's not the kind of place he was trying to run. So it continued, and eventually Nanalil had some pretty top-notch gear. To the point that he said he was overgeared for our guild and its current level of progress. Nanalil said it made no logical sense for him to stay in our guild. That would be a waste of his time. So Nanalil decided he was going to move on. And he got fucking invited to somewhere else. He used his gear to get into a better guild. Everyone always needs tanks. And here's one just dripping in fucking gear. Nanalil lasted 1 day in the new guild. Apparently they had abused him so hard after his trial run that I never saw him again. Jesus Christ. Was it bald, fat and ugly? Was it bald, fat and ugly? I think I know the guild he went to. Sounds awfully familiar. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, yeah, the reality check is pretty serious when you move up to a guild that is not run by a nice guy. Oh, shit. What I want the moral of this story to be for you and your audience. Just because you're an off-tank has a genius level IQ doesn't mean shit in a video game. Also, don't play with kids. Cheers. Yeah. Don't play with kids. I agree. Don't do that. I had an 11-year-old tank in my first Molten Core guild. Yep, 11 years old. 11 years old. Motherfucker. Only I could have... Painful. Painful. Alright, let's have a loot thief. A loot thief. Thief. I've been doing too many voices today. I can't separate the man from the boy. Okay. Alright, Spike Flail. We need 2 guild names. Wonderful live chat to go along with this. We need 2 guild names. While I do my magic over here. Alright. 2 guild names. Give me a sec. Disco Turtles. Yeah, Disco Turtles. Lie-ups. Yeah. And Psychus. Awesome. Wonderful. The Balloon Poppers. Okay. Flogging Molly. Oh, no. Don't want that. The Edgy Lords. The Balloon Poppers. The Pensioners. Okay. I'm not sure if that fits, but we'll go here. Okay. The Spike Flail. Preacher and your wonderful, wonderful chat. I bring you a tale from a game rarely featured on Drama Time, if at all. Final Fantasy 11. Wow. Okay. Yes. The MMORPG sensation prior to that filthy FF14. I think your audience is really going to like this. I've never played FF11. Never. That was the one that had the ludicrous amounts of grinding in it. Is this the one where you died, you lost experience? That one? And you had to keep re-leveling up? I think it is, right? And it had them crazy, crazy, like, bosses that went on for hours and hours and hours. Yeah? Yeah, you could lose levels, couldn't you? Yeah, I remember this. Fuck. I remember researching this for a video a long time ago. This game looked wacky. Absolutely wacky. Yeah, it's not unique. No, my first MMO I ever played had the same functionality where you could do that. In fact, respecking used to cost you levels. You had to refund your points and it would drain your experience. It would also, in my first MMO, if you wanted to respec, I think you had something like 2,000 points to spend, individual points. To refund them to swap your talents, you would have to take these pills, which would cause memory loss, so you would lose experience. Each time you took the pills, it would only refund 5 of the points. And it would also give you what they call drug flash, which would last for 10 minutes. So you could get 5 points every 10 minutes, and it would make your screen completely fuzzy. So what you would do is you would go and sit in your apartment and take drugs for days to respec your character. That's how it worked in my first MMO. It was pretty rough. Pretty brutal. Okay. This story will require judgment. Oh, Guilty Hammers. I haven't got one to hand, actually. But Guilty Hammers at the ready, team. We need, I need your court. But I do ask the court and you, Judge Preach, to hear me out fully before you render your verdict. Okay. There's a fair amount of backstory in this tale in order to sufficiently set up my defense. But everything I'm about to tell you exists because of what comes later. Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my story begins in October 2003 at the North American launch of Final Fantasy XI. My then girlfriend, now wife, was a JRPG fanatic and had played all of the other Final Fantasy games. It was our second MMO, having previously played Asheron's Call 2, a buggy, shit-filled mess that we quit after a couple of months. We got tired of communicating with each other with world chat because whispers and party chat didn't work. Supposedly it got better, but we were never there to see it. At the time, we were college students, so had plenty of time to play games. I still remember going to the campus post office on launch day to pick up the new game, which we had diligently pre-ordered. We went back to my dorm room where we had set up both our desktops to install the game and log in. Our excitement grew as we got closer and closer to completing that installation. We opened Play Online Square's proprietary launcher and held our breaths. A version update started, and the patching took a mere 4 hours to complete. As a little side note to this, I see a lot of people complaining about having difficulty figuring out how to subscribe to Final Fantasy XIV. If you have never used Play Online, you have no fucking idea. It is orders of magnitude worse than FF14's current system, and it still exists. You've got to try it. You've got to try it. Bex has found it. Mike, you should try this. I think I have a Play Online account for something else. I'm not sure what, but I think I do. Let's have a look real quick. Sorry, audio listeners. I'll try and talk you through. What is this? Why is it all on one side of the screen? Okay, for our audio podcast listeners, it's all on the left-hand side of the screen for some reason. I don't know why. Can I zoom in and make it better? Okay. Oh, God. Okay, I've zoomed in too much. It's now become pixelated. We are Vanadiel. Okay, so I want to free Windows clients. You can get the launcher there. Screenix. Game introduction platform. Oh my God, look how old this is. Okay, so audio dudes, this is like RuneScape drop-down menus. Holy shit. For new players. Oh, they have a pretty advanced screen for new players. Is this game still live? Can you play this? It's got the story set up. Looks awfully familiar. Not old retro. Battle presentations. A trust system. Yeah, it's good. The slow life fishing, farming, item synthesis. Purchase now. This isn't too bad. They have updated it a little bit, I think. The first screen, though, is painful. This is painful. The first screen is horrendous. But if you click some links, it takes you to a seemingly better quality experience. Let's put it that way. We'll call it a better quality experience. That sounds good. Okay. It was 2003. It was a different time. Let's go with that. It was a different time. However, finally, we were able to log in. At least I was. I was assigned to the Kujata server. My girlfriend tried to make her character and log in as well, but she couldn't select my server. You see, in Final Fantasy XI, you needed to buy an in-game world pass with in-game currency to generate a code for your friends so they could play on the same server as you. What? What am I hearing? Why? Without this, all server assignments are completely random. Why? So, you get assigned to servers randomly, and when you find a server you want to be on, somebody has to level up, or can you buy it from level 1? Oh, I think that's the adventure they're going down. I figured I may as well get to making gold to buy her a world pass. Wait. It was a different time? Because it was a PS2? That still doesn't make sense. Someone had to buy one for you. Create a problem, sell solution? I mean... Okay. Alright, I mean, I accept this. I assume you can't buy this at level 1. You can't log in at level 1 and just get world passes for people so you can get your teams together. Do you have to level up? And grind gold? Is that what you had to do? Any knowers? Yeah, it's the first Japanese console MMO. It was made to even out server load. I don't know. Yeah, I suppose New World did that recently, actually. Yeah, you're true. New World did do it recently. Okay. I figured I may as well get to making some money to buy her this World Pass. I zoned into San D'Oria with my new Elven Warrior and started exploring the town. By talking to some random NPCs, I received some quests to bring back rabbit hides, bat fangs, and useless other garbage. I ventured out of town for the first time and started engaging enemies. Over a nearby hill, I spotted a cute bunny rabbit. I needed rabbit hides. So I went to attack the rabbit. The rabbit butchered me mercilessly. An important fact about Final Fantasy XI is that no matter what level you are, there are bunnies outside of the cities that can murder you. Like Monty Python? At this point, I silenced the part of the brain that is going, red alert, this game is a bad idea. That this is not worth my time. And I get back trying to complete some quest. Eventually, I earned the 1,000 gil required to buy the World Pass, and my girlfriend gets to create a character. 1,000 gil a player? Holy shit. Okay, he did it before level 10 though, so it doesn't sound like it was that much, contextually. We reached level 10 or so over the next couple of days, and realized that any enemy that gives a worthwhile amount of experience points needs a larger group to kill. So we start trying to make larger groups, and this starts our journey towards max level. In Final Fantasy XI, the only way at the time to level was to grind. Quests didn't reward experience at all. A full group of 6 players was the most efficient way to progress. Groups were based on a modified Holy Trinity of a tank, healer, and 3 DPS, and one interesting twist, a pure support class. Ultimately, I decided to play a Paladin, which was a tank. My girlfriend was a Dark Knight, which was a melee DPS. Game sessions would consist of us trying to build an experienced team, venturing out to a level-appropriate spot, and grinding. And grinding. And grinding. If you were lucky, you could get a level. If unlucky, we wouldn't find a healer support class, and we never left the town. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh my god. Oh, this is horrendous. If we were very, very unlucky, the group would be crappy and we would lose experience by dying. Oh god, yeah, I suppose so. So you do have these 3 tiers. If things go well, you go out and you get a level. If things are bad, you don't go at all. Even worse, though, is you get a noob and you lose experience. And you actually end up degressing. Like, while you're playing. While grinding away, you actually regress. Wonderful. Joyous. Now, there's no doubts this was clearly a flawed system. But it did have one merit. You knew the community. You knew who was good. And you knew who was shit. And if you were shit, everybody knew you were shit. Not many people would continue with this grind. So you would know many of the players in your leveling range. If you were a crappy player or an arsehole, you would not get invited to groups, and your ability to advance your character actually came to a complete stop. Damn! Damn! Some people reminisce about the days in Vanilla WoW where player reputation mattered on servers. But this is that idea on absolute steroids. After about 9 months of playing and going through several tribulations that need not be mentioned here, we reached the level cap of 75. There was a small group of us that leveled together, and we decided to start an endgame link shell, equivalent of a guild, and started trying to gear our characters to participate in these events. I want to tell you about the Final Fantasy XI endgame. Final Fantasy XI was capped at level 75 from 2003 through to 2010. Yes, they did have expansions during this time, but expansions added zones and some endgame activities. They never increased the level cap. This led to a situation where a best-in-slot piece of armor from 2007 may come from content released in 2003. Imagine. Can you imagine? piece of gear at the beginning of your journey being still Biss at the end of that journey, that would be awkward. Very awkward. 2 years later, even. Crazy. That would be crazy. This is obviously a very different system from almost all MMOs today. I mean, Arcana Crystal's pretty shit. With which you essentially just need to play the current patch and you can get caught up. Endgame activities. They fall into these 3 categories. 1, high-level areas. There were several high-level areas in which there would be named monsters that would drop items that would be used to spawn higher-level bosses. Killing those bosses would provide items for the next tier of bosses. Ultimately, most of these bosses were worthless except for the final boss, who would have a relatively small chance to drop gear you needed. It would take a good-sized guild 2 to 3 nights of farming to generate the items to spawn the final boss of one of these zones. I did research this. To summon the world bosses, didn't it literally take months? Because you had to kill these tiers of bosses, right? And it kept working its way up like a pyramid. And to get to the very, very, very big mega bosses, the ones that like required multiple guilds to kill, it would take months to get the... It would take months to get the pieces to spawn it. That's correct, right? Did it take months? I'm sure... I was reading one that it took guilds like working together a long-ass time to summon some of the mega bosses. But a lot of time. Not months, but a lot of time. That's fair. I mean, I'm remembering something I researched years ago, so no doubt a bit off. There were instances, of course. Final Fantasy XI had several instant areas called Dynamis and Limbus. These areas were filled with trash which had a low chance of dropping items. There were bosses that would extend your time in the area. The general goal was to try to extend your time in the dungeon to 3 hours to farm as much trash as possible. Jesus fucking Christ. 3 hour high shell, anybody? Yeah, no one down. 3rd, world spawns. Lastly, bosses would occasionally spawn in particular areas of the world. 3 in particular were the targets of most guilds. Adamantois, Behemoth, and Fafnir. Let's take a look. Final Fantasy XI, Blastoise? Oh, what was he called? Adamantois. Adamantois. Who's this fella? Oh, he's a chunker. Look at this guy. What a beast. Yeah. Oh, he's a thick boy. He's a thick boy. Boom. Terrifying. Oh, yeah. What a fucking horror story. Look at this guy. Proper chunker. Has all the health in the world. He's just a big-ass turtle. That's all he is. He's just a big old turtle boy. While these alone, with the exception of Fafnir, were fairly worthless, occasionally, a higher version of them would spawn. Are these medicines? Nidhogg, King Behemoth, Aspidoculone? These 3 were known as the 3 Kings, and were the ultimate target of most endgame guilds. The king of the 3 kings, the king of kings, was Nidhogg, a dragon who dropped the best in slot body piece for paladins, heavy melee damage dealers, and healers. Well, we know all about Nidhogg, don't we? We know about our boy Nidhogg. I want to be a bit more clear about how these work, since it'll come up later on. When one of these died, it would start a timer. Exactly 21 hours after one died, there would be a possibility of a respawn at 30-minute intervals, and it would exactly spawn at 21 hours after, 21 hours, 21:30 after, etc., up to 24 hours, when there would be a guaranteed spawn. The high-quality version of each would spawn once every 3 to 7 days. Jesus fucking Christ. As noted, the 3 Kings dropped the best in slot body piece for nearly every job in the game, and given that all drops were fairly rare, it was an extreme restriction on completing one's best armor set. Claiming these bosses was difficult for multiple reasons. First, you would be trying against generally about 100 other people for the claim. Secondly, if it was any time but night in Japan, Japanese guilds, which played on the same server, you are fucked, would have the advantage because the servers were located in Japan. North American and European guilds claiming kings was generally rare. None of these bosses were particularly hard, with the small exception of Fafnir and Nidhogg. Both would take time to kill, even for a full group, and they had mechanics which could hurt an unprepared raid. Specifically, standing directly in front would kill you with a fire breath, and if you would somehow unluckily pull a threat from behind, you would potentially be killed with an ability called Spiked Flail. All enemies in Final Fantasy XI have a hidden gauge that increases as the enemy melee hits. If Fafnir or Nidhogg had filled this gauge enough, and you pulled aggro from behind, it would use Spike Flail. Many a group was killed by Spike Flail, because they were not sure what was causing it until we had it all figured out. It was one of the most annoying and deadly abilities in the entire game. Is Spike Flail... I'm trying to picture it. Is Spike Flail just the tail cracking down on you? It feels like it's the tail smashing the floor and it just kills everybody. Any knowers? To kill the dragons, you would essentially have your groups stack on the dragon's front feet to both avoid its breath and avoid accidentally pulling threat from behind. Oh, there's a meme picture that goes with this? Did you send this? Thine will severely cast doth beast to flail. Fafnir. This is the guy? Is this like a prophecy? What is this? Everyone stood at the front? What is this sign? The fuck? So we got a picture of Fafnir with like one guy hitting it from behind, like some sort of meme picture. Is this what's circulated in the community? This looks like a THD description of a WoW boss. Lastly, I want to make one major point with this. Gear was very, very hard to come by. There were pieces of important loot that would be seen less than once per year. With this, loyalty to your group was as important as you would gain seniority with time, and also, if you left your guild to try and join another, any inkling of loot drama would be an instant denial on that server. Well, based on what we saw about the leveling thing, I would imagine that's true. We should return to the guild that we started. Our GM was named Disco Turtles, and he named our guild the Balloon Poppers. By early 2006, we were one of the largest endgame guilds on the server, of which there were 7 reputable English-speaking guilds in total. We started slowly, but with time developed a fairly strong team of approximately 40 players. I was the main tank, and we had a 6-night-per-week raid schedule, fucking casuals, doing one of the above activities on each occasion. We slowly progressed to the point that we could complete almost all endgame content with relative ease, with the exception of winning claims on world bosses. No different than most other endgame groups. As loot was rare, we developed a complex but thorough loot system. All members had to oh my god, no. All members must submit their wish list to Disco Turtles and the officers, and we would put a list on our website of the order that those pieces would be given out when they dropped. All people would know their place in line for all of the desired items. Your place would stay the same as long as your attendance was good and you did well. It is important to have such a system in place, as the loot system in Final Fantasy XI was a greed type system. Anyone in the group could roll on any item that dropped. But having our published order made it very easy to see the person who was supposed to loot the item. Now, in theory, this is not a bad idea. I have had a system like this work for me. I can't stand loot. I am not interested in any game ever. So when we made our little 10-man in Cataclysm, I declared, as guildmaster and raid leader, I declared a nice simple rule. There's only 10 of you. We had like 12. 12 of you. Figure out your loot and then just get it when it drops. And it worked perfectly. I had 12 trustworthy people. It was super easy. And I never had to give a fuck. I had one guy who was very confused and was like, well, what if this trinket drops? Do you need it? Yes. Who else needs it? They need it. Talk to them. Who needs it next? Who's got better? It's fine. I just was like, do not bring me any loot drama. I could not give a fuck. It worked fine. My number one piece On my wish list was the Paladin's Valor Surcoat, which dropped from the highest level of Dynamis, Zarkabard. As an officer and main tank, I was number 1 on the list. There was a better body piece which dropped from Nidhogg, but I abandoned hope at ever seeing it given our abysmal claim rates on world bosses. This piece was the only other tanking body piece that would give increased enmity and increased health points. An enviable duo, for sure. Moreover, it looked so cool if you had one. Everyone knew you were the hot shit if you were wearing the chest piece from Nidhogg. Please note, Mike, how badass this looks. Okay, they've given us a picture of what this looks like. Are you guys ready to be blown away by badassery in Transmog? Boom. Take a look, friends. That's 2003's Thunder Fury right there. Are you jelly? That's pretty pog, isn't it? It's not that bad. It certainly doesn't look epic, though, does it? It certainly doesn't. You don't look at that and go, wow, that is cool as fuck. I mean, I can't compare it to the rest of the game. At this point, I want to introduce 2 other players in our tale. Light Ups and Psychus. We're a husband and wife team that applied to us and were accepted. Light Ups had a bunch of classes decently geared, including his Paladin tank and Samurai DPS. Psychus was a well-geared white mage, a healer. Their previous guild had died, and they were looking for a new home. After joining, both completed their loot wish lists, as did everybody. Light Ups complained about his position on them, but relented after we discussed that this way has worked for all time, and everyone gets their turn. They both seemed to fit in with only rare grumbling. The months went on, and we continued our gameplay week in, week out. I was actually becoming decently geared, but the Valor Surcoat, the chest eluded me. We would run the instance zone that would drop it, Dynamis, about once every 2 weeks. In an entire year, it had never dropped. And so one night, we assembled for Dynamis and entered the zone. We proceed through our usual route. About an hour in, I was struck dumb when I finally saw it. The chest piece had dropped. There it was. I went absolutely berserk with excitement. The level of excitement that you can only get from your perfect piece in a video game. I was top of the loot list. I was the one who was next for it. And there I go. I rolled. In the dungeon loot list, I see my name appear, followed by a solid roll of 71. Everyone knew how long I had been waiting for this moment. The whispers started coming in. Congratulations. You've deserved this. And then I see it, as you've no doubt guessed. My name is replaced with Light Ups 76. He rolled on the item over me. And there was absolutely nothing I could do. It was impossible to remove someone from the run. My guild chat exploded. Disco Turtles screamed at Light Ups that he would be kicked from the guild if he did not pass. Light Ups did not. My heart dropped as I saw in my chat window, Light Ups obtains the chess piece. The run was ended and Light Ups was kicked from the guild, with Psychus leaving soon after on her own with her husband now gone. This is one place where such a tale should end, with the traitors being expelled from our group. But our tale does not end there, my friends. Not even close. Oh, God. As I had noted previously, there were 7 reputable English-speaking endgame guilds on our server. With such a low number, the endgame community was relatively small, and I knew officers of the GMs in every other team. Knowing that Light Ups and Psychus would attempt to join another guild, I preempted them. I went to every officer I knew and I let them know about the thievery of Light Ups. On each guild website, I made a post describing his action and how he and his wife were not to be trusted. As I noted, in the absence of a master looter type system, but the same thing might happen to someone else. The weeks went by and I would see Light Ups and Psychus from time to time in the major cities. No new guild. I smiled and sighed, knowing that he was being punished for what he had done. But we move on. If your listeners were following closely, they may have noted that I said there were 7 reputable English-speaking guilds on our server. But there was another. There was another. The Pensioners. This guild was a collection of people who had been booted from the other guilds. Many of them had transferred from other servers after they couldn't find a place on their own. They were a wretched hive of loot whores and scum. What, you may ask, would keep such a group together? I'm sorry to tell you all. The answer was cheating. Many of them would run botting programs specifically designed to claim the Three King World bosses. Their claim rate was high enough that people would actually want to join them. They may be cheaters. No, they may be cheaters. But fuck me if they don't get results, ladies and gentlemen. They get results. Can't argue with that. Can't argue. One day, on our guild's day off, I ventured to the Dragon's Eyrie, the zone in which Fafnir and Nidhogg would spawn. There were not enough people online for us to attempt to claim and kill it ourselves, but at least I could see the time when it died for the following night, so we may try again. I went on my white mage, a healer, because it had access to teleports and other spells to make browsing around the zones easier. I waited, I was just watching TV in the background, when at last the dragon spawned. Nidhogg himself. I looked to see who had claimed it. And it was the fucking Pensioners. And who do I see tanking it? Light ups. In my chest piece. Fuck that noise. I moved behind Nidhogg and started healing light ups as hard as I could. You may think this would be helpful to him, but no. I knew my mission. I was generating so much threat. Final Fantasy XI has a toggleable option to make yourself unable to be targeted by spells outside your group. But Light Ups and a few others hadn't turned it on. And I healed my friends. I was like the light of fucking Jesus Christ himself coming down on Light Ups. The Pensioners were clearly not paying attention as to what was going on. And then, in my moment of triumph, I saw that big ugly dragon turn a 180. Just for a split second. It meleeed me once, killed me, and turned back towards Light Ups, who was now standing directly behind Nidhogg. I saw what could only be described as a vision of the Virgin Mary in my chat window. Nidhogg casts Spike Flail, with the next 30 or so lines showing the damage values to everyone in their raid, and every single one of them dying. Nidhogg briefly became unclaimed, but was then grabbed by a Japanese guild who was definitely going to kill it. I was not there to see this as I was laughing. Laughing so hard. I returned my corpse to its home point. I looked at how much experience I'd lost and knew it was worth every single point. About 2 days later, I again noticed Light Ups walking around in one of the capital cities. Once again, guildless. I later learned that he was kicked from the Pensioners for not toggling his spellcasting blocker and losing the Nidhogg claim for them. Good. Fuck him, prick. But still, this story does not end. What? In Final Fantasy XI, you do have the option to serve a transfer and name change, but cannot race change or appearance change. Many people would attempt to serve a change to escape the bad reputations that were obviously relevant to Final Fantasy XI. As many endgame players would conglomerate on the website of a particular endgame guild, similar to elitist jerks in World of Warcraft, a forum was established to screen potential cross-server applicants and find the bad eggs. This still exists today, mostly as an interesting MMO historical artifact. Does this work? No way. Hacks. Oh, you guys in the chat know this forum. Let's check it out. BG forum. Cross-server application checks. Are these people? Searching for info about old Bahamut players. Calling old school Diablos to Bahamut. Oh, so they literally... oh, let's click this one. Diablos to Bahamut. Sazzy. So this is the player Sazzy moving from Diablos to Bahamut. In-game name on Bahamut is Sazzy. From USA, female. Was in a noob guild. Same name on Diablos was Sazzy. There was already a background check 2 weeks ago about this person. Is this for fucking real? Told us she is 22. Said in application to another guild she is 27. Could have been a typo. Does this information help anyone already to provide good or bad feedback? She was in my Sky Guild for a brief moment on Bahamut. Nice person and knows her job well. I think she's currently in med school. Jesus Christ, this is crazy. She's currently in med school or nursing school, so she didn't show up to many events. Maybe she has more time now to play after exams. Was in my guild for like 5 minutes also. Came to like 1 Limbus and 1 Salvage. Red Mage D-leveled to 74. They need to make up their mind as to what they want to join, really. That name rings... Jeez, this is terrible. This is fucking crazy. They're not stalking. They obviously know everybody. This is not just her. I don't think. Bahamut, Donovan. This guy just applied to our guild on Quest. 75 warrior. Any info on this player? Played with this guy a long time ago in Shiva for a while. Nice guy. Seems to know his shit. And if I remember correctly, he was a decent player. Oh, it's not this. Oh, and look, it's not the same. Not our Donovan. Somebody else. Was in Absolution, now Vanquished. Good player. Left the guild based on not being able to meet the time scenarios or something of that sort. Definitely would recommend him to your guild as an asset. Lol. Does he have an apocalypse by any chance? Oh, drama? Yes, he does. Chances are astronomically high. This is not the person that's played Donovan all this time. It is very likely someone who bought that account. Busted! Busted! Well, it may not be that Donovan we knew, aka sold the account, or maybe he gave his account to his brother, who was also on Bahamut. Either way, I don't know if he failed to mention it that he played on Diablos for a year after he transferred, unless, of course, it isn't the real Donovan. Anyway, the Donovan we knew took a break 3 weeks ago because he was working 16-hour shifts, apparently. He hasn't been seen or heard of from his Final Fantasy XI account or WoW account since, and is not answering text messages. So make of it what you will. At this point, no actual character references can be made until we know who this is. Sup, guys? Long time no see. It's remix of Poison Class 2010. I don't know. I quit a few years ago, as you guys know. I came back to the first person I messaged was Donovan. He was still playing at the time. I went to Phoenix for a while, but then I went to Bahamut because they merged with my original server. And this guild I joined when I got there always talked about a guy named Donovan. I didn't think anything of it until I said I knew a Donovan from Diablos. My guild leader said he was from there. He told me Donovan said he used to be Poisoned. He quit right after that. This is insane. I doubt you guys will even see this, but it was nice to see you guys are still alive and well. As quoted by a good friend Donovan. 5 years before a bump, eh? Normally people are given a time for this, as bumping the threads is discouraged. Oh, that was 5 years after? This guy just... Wait, Remix just posted after 5 years? He totally did. Look, that post was made on December 10th, 2009. Remix drops in 2014. Sup, guys? What a necro. Yeah, I know Donovan. Who else knows Donovan? I know Donovan. Okay, so actually we have full-blown proof. Yep, if you try to server change in Final Fantasy XI, they're going to find out about it. You're going on a list. Server transfers, you're going on a list. I know him. I followed that forum daily, and about once a month I would see an inquiry from a cross-server officer asking for information about individuals matching the description of Light Ups and Psychus. I would respond that they were kicked due to Light Up's loot whoring and would be thanked. This happened for about 6 months, and the inquiries eventually went away. Son of a bitch. Wow. Get fucked. Don't ninja in Final Fantasy XI. You're on a fucking list. And that's following you everywhere. I wish I had a complete end to their part of the story, as I don't know if they ever found a place to go or just quit the game entirely. And so with this, I ask for judgment from your audience. Was I an asshole? Or was I justified in my righteous vengeance against those who would break the rules? As for me, I did finally get my chest piece. It dropped in the next run we did, about 2 weeks after we kicked light ups from the guild. I will occasionally resub to FF11, and even 14 years later, I still wear it as my transmog. It's still badass. Not guilty. I think here, it's hard for me to cast judgment as the judge. I look to my jury for this one. I don't care. I've never hunted an item for a year. I did, the item I've hunted the most was I want to say the Myrmidon treads from Black Temple. They never dropped for us, and I think they had plus hit on them. Were they plus hit and expertise? They were glorious for tanks anyway. But I played with nice players, so I got them when they eventually dropped. They just never dropped. Not guilty. Not guilty. I don't think we need a poll. Looking at the chat, this is a huge wave of not guilties coming in here. A huge wave. Not guilty. Yeah. I mean, a year of chase. Unquestionably, in the context of it, this is what I would say. In a game that has a reasonably regular occurrence of an item not showing up for 12 months or more, this loot is definitely considered precious amongst the players. Ergo, ninjaing is even that much worse. And to see somebody come in and just roll out with the stuff and then fucking be a dick about it. Well, he wasn't really a dick about it. He just left, right? But I could see your heartache. You've coveted an item for a year. Yeah. Is it worth, though? And I have to put this question to you. Is it worth destroying that person's entire character and their experience playing the game going forward forever? That's where I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, destroying that entire person's gaming experience forever. According to my audience, yes, that is the justifiable punishment. That is the penance. Yeah, fuck that guy. Okay. Well, you can see it there. I leave it to the audience. I don't know. I leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my birthday, and that is me signing off for the day. It has been an extraordinary day. My voice is clearly destroyed. We've done plenty of things. We might be around over the weekend, but I promise nothing. I have so much stuff going on that it's probably going to be Monday, but I'll tweet you. Otherwise, thank you for an extraordinary day. Absolutely extraordinary day. It's been fantastic from start to finish. Enjoy our videos up on YouTube. I know many of you loved the intro Chris put together for our hidden gems in Final Fantasy XIV. Quests that some people who've been playing for years did not know existed that we've been doing. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day. I'm going to spend the night with my family. Be awesome. The reason we might stream over the weekend is we should have our office keys. Opium. If we do, we'll put a little stream together so we can explore it. All right? Be good. Bye, everybody. I'm out. Where's my button?